Hello, I am here with Caroline Clark. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Ray.
Who is the paranormal horror author?
Yeah.
Paranormal, maybe?
Yeah.
Of The Spirit Behind You, Daddy Won't Kill You?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you just tell us a bit about your books and kind of what you write and why you write it?
I write mainly supernatural horror and mainly about ghosts and spirits because it interests me. I find the idea of the spirit world absolutely enthralling, and I believe that there is something else, and so I just want to tell those stories.
So when you say you believe there's something else, is there anything that happened that kind of drove you to that belief?
I've had a couple of what could be encounters. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. I used to work in a pub which is called the White Hart, just down the road here at Newton-on-Trent, and it was supposed to be haunted. Bells would ring, doors would slam. I didn't hear any of that, but when I was there late at night, it would suddenly go cold and then it would warm up again. You would get the feeling that somebody was watching you, but you were the only person there, and you would see shadows out the corner of your eye. I never actually saw anything 100%, but it was very, very close.
Has that sparked any ideas for any books then? Have you got? Because I know a few other books are influenced by things. Has that come up with any ideas based on that pub? Or?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I would like to do a book on local hauntings, but I'm not 100% sure if I can make it a novel or whether it'll be short stories.
Yeah.
There are a lot of hauntings around here.
How many novels have you released now then?
Oh gosh. Do you know? I think it's 8.
8. And what was your first novel?
The Haunting of Brinley House.
And how would you say you've come along since that first novel? If you look at your novels now, how do they compare to that first one you did?
I really like that one still, but I think they are getting a little bit more complex. But I really did enjoy that.
It's interesting because I hate my first. I look back at it now and think this stinks. I mean, people don't perhaps realise that unless they kind of have like a lot of knowledge about creative writing. But I read it, I think it's quite impressive that you still like it.
Yeah, I still like it. Yeah.
And your most recent one was that The Haunting of
The Old Box.
The Old Box?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, we'll get onto that in a little bit.
Okay.
But first, we're going to talk about your horror profile.
Okay.
So, I ask all my guests these 5 questions. So, first one, your favourite horror movie?
I think it's got to be The Sixth Sense. An old one, but I just love...
Because it counts as old now, The Sixth Sense. Jeez.
I just love the fact that the first time you watch it, it's such a shock, but then when you go back, you see where they've built the clues in, but it's still just a fabulous twist at the
I don't
end.
think we're giving any spoilers away now, but
No,
I said about the
think
ending,
so.
are we? Surely, yeah. So, yeah, because it kind of makes sense when you go back to it, and so, what was it about the kind of experience of watching that kind of impacted you so much?
It was just the fact that the way that it was written, that it was hidden from the main character, what happened, and I think that the kid was just fantastic. I see dead people. It's just wow.
It's an iconic line now, isn't it?
Yeah, yes it is. Yeah.
Are you a big fan of any other kind of M. Night Shyamalan movies?
I like all of his, to be honest. I do. I think they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I am a big fan of anything he does. Yeah, even the Spider-Man movies I think were okay, which is not normal.
Did he do the Spider-Man?
He did some of the Spider-Man, yeah.
I thought that was Sam Raimi.
Yes, it was. He's another of my favourites.
Oh, right.
That's why I've got it mixed up.
The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I posted quite a controversial thing on my Facebook the other day that I really liked the remake of The Evil Dead, and boy did I get nailed for it. You didn't like
on
it?
The remake. No, the characters were...
It rains blood. What else do you want?
I didn't like the characters. I wanted to kill them. So
yeah. Fair enough. Next, your favourite horror book?
Difficult to say because I've got hundreds, but the one that got me into horror and that I still remember is The Rats by James Herbert, which has just had its 50th edition, 50th year.
I don't know of that one. What's it about?
It's about rats that basically are killing people.
Okay.
And there's so many of them that they just terrorise the town, terrorise London.
Is it kind of paranormal thing with the rats, or is it kind of more
No,
of an infection?
It's more an infection sort of thing. And there's been a few newspaper reports over the last few years about how rats are sort of becoming more and more of a problem, and they're getting bigger and bigger as well. So it's just when the 50th year anniversary of the book was.
So movies from 50 years ago predicting things.
Yeah.
In that case, we should also have Night of the Living Dead start soon, shouldn't we, as well? Psycho, Maps and Norman Bates, Your favourite horror moment?
Oh, gosh.
It could be from a movie, TV series, book, your favourite moment.
I think probably 7.
Which
the end
moment?
of 7, where he discovers what's in the box.
Yeah. Again, I don't think we're giving a spoiler.
No,
surely,
I
but
hope not. There's other ones. I mean, I love cringeworthy moments. So there's what's the name of the film? Mercy, when the ankles. Stephen King's Mercy, when the ankles are. Have you seen that?
Do you know what? This has come up every podcast
you've
I've
not
done.
seen
I'm
it?
not a Stephen King fan. I haven't seen. I kind of avoid quite a bit of his stuff.
Yeah. I prefer his books to most of his films. The films are very sort of. They're not as well done, but the bit in Mercy where they did the ankles was great. And I don't know what The Mist. At the end of The Mist, that is an amazing twist.
When the army then come out after,
yeah. I like that sort of thing, but I don't write that sort of thing, which is strange. But I do like to watch.
Because you write paranormal horror, do you like kind of all horror, or is it just?
I like all horror. Yeah.
Even zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Can't be a good zombie.
Yeah.
So what was it about the moment in? 7. What was it about the moment in 7?
Just the shock value.
Again,
they're messing with your head.
I'm surprised you didn't say the end of Sixth Sense then. After that being your favourite movie.
Yeah, that as well. I like all that where they mess with your head. But I think 7's probably a better one, as is The Mist, where I won't tell.
Are we spoiling The Mist? Is that recent enough?
It's pretty old, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
But it's not one probably a lot of people have seen. But I think
there's a Netflix TV series. I think I stopped it halfway through. Wasn't quite as good as a film.
Yeah.
Your favourite horror creator? This could be a writer, a director, an actor, actress.
Gosh. I'll say James Herbert. I liked nearly everything he did, and I do think his books got so much better, whereas a lot of people like Stephen King's I think have got worse and worse.
I think that's what my problem with him is, that I've read too much recent stuff.
Yeah.
I like Carrie on the Shining.
Yeah. Whereas I think Herbert's, it just got better and better.
What are some of his best known books in James Herbert? It's not someone I'm that familiar with.
The Magic Cottage. Keep going. Brain's gone. There was an Ash series which were ghost books towards the end. I can't think of what they were called. And because they're on Kindle, I used to have books all across there a year ago, but everything's on Kindle now.
Yes.
But I think The Magic Cottage was my favourite of his.
What about it made it your favourite?
Again, it was very psychological, it was very twisty, so you never really knew what was coming, what was going to happen, and what the ending was going to be.
Why did you choose to write in horror?
Because that's where I read. I love horror.
Why do you love horror? Just keep on trying to get down to this every single interview, and we can't quite nail the reason. Why horror?
We like to be scared, don't we? In a safe way, I think. We kind of live in the vicarious scares of other people. That's
an interesting concept, kind of being scared in a safe way. I like that. Yeah. So what is it about being scared? Because I mean, I often see like a slogan saying "You'll never want to be alone in your house again." I'm like, well, why would I watch it? I don't want to be scared to be alone in my house. What is it about safe scaredness that?
I think it's just primeval. I think I don't know, I suppose you feel you're alive once you've been scared, and it makes other things better, but I just love to be scared.
Yeah. Are you easily scared? Or have you
No,
kind
I
of
don't-
become immune a little bit since
I
writing?
think you do become immune a little bit, but I can spook myself out if I'm writing late at night, and you hear a noise or the
Yeah.
dogs decide to go mad barking, just as I'm doing a horror scene. It can be a bit,
Have
scary.
you had any of those moments where you've been writing and scared yourself with your own writing? That's the ultimate moment, I think.
I have done it a few times. I've got a torch here because we have
Oh,
power
right.
cuts out here,
Oh, right.
and we had a few power cuts last week, and of course it's always.
If you had had a power cut right at the moment, something...
No, luckily they haven't been too bad,
Okay.
and I know they're coming now, but when it first goes out, you always get a bit of a, oh my god, my computer, and then
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible thing if you haven't saved your work.
yeah.
And we've touched on this kind of earlier, but whether you've had any personal horror experience, could you tell us a bit more about this pub? What kind of things happened there?
Yeah. Well, I used to work at a pub called the White Hart in Newton-on-Trent, which is supposedly haunted. I think it's still there. I don't know. I've not been in a lot of years, but people would hear bells ringing, doors opening and closing when no one was there, which I didn't hear. Apparently glasses were thrown about as well, which again I didn't see, but sometimes when you were alone and it was late, the room would suddenly go very, very cold, and then it would warm up again inexplicably. There was no draft, it would just go cold. You would feel a presence, feel as if somebody was there, but you could never see them. And occasionally you would see a shadow out the corner of your eye, but you could never quite catch it.
Yeah.
So it was all very, yes, I think something's there, but I was never 100% sure.
What is it about pubs, though? Every old pub seems to claim to be the most haunted
Yeah.
kind of in the UK.
Yeah. We live here not far from a place called Gibbet Farm. And I can't think of the guy's name now, but they gibbeted a man and left him hung for 50
wow.
years in, a gibbet is a metal frame, and then
50 years?
50 years until he disintegrated.
Jeez.
And that is supposed to be haunted, as is the pub where the woman he killed was taken, which is
Alright.
the Sun in Saxon, but that's supposed to be haunted.
I have to go to these places. I like going to
Yeah.
haunted places. And go,
Yeah. The gibbet actually killed 3 people because it fell down, and at one point it actually killed 3 people. It fell down 3 times, I believe.
Oh, God. God, you thought after 3 times they'd probably give up and think maybe...
Maybe this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And every year on the anniversary of his death, I think a weapon he used to turn up under the gibbet. It was again kept in the pub. Now nobody knows whether it was the landlord doing it.
Probably, yeah.
But in the end, the Bishop of Lincoln actually burned it and consecrated this axe because he didn't want all the rumours. So it was a lot of years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Have you had any other kind of personal horror? Because you said you kind of believe and you had kind of close things, never been sure about. What things happened?
Well, we think we saw a lady in white. That was me and my husband at one time. But we weren't 100% sure. But that really got me involved in the lady in white. That was up in Yorkshire. We saw this figure on the roadside. Went back, couldn't find her. It was late at night. It was misty. It was horrible. Saw this woman in white, just misty figure. Went back, couldn't find her.
Because that's, if I'm right, that's what Haunting on Hillside is
It's
based on.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the legend is, kind of the lady in white, where she came from?
There's loads. It's one of those legends that's worldwide.
Yeah.
Mainly England and America, but it is worldwide. People see this lady, and it's usually supposed to be a woman who's been done wrong by her man, and she's after revenge. And the legend goes that if you see her, you will die. And quite often she'll appear in the car. Didn't happen to us, obviously.
To be fair, I went to a pub where there was a painting where after you've seen it, you're supposed to die after a year.
Yeah.
And I asked them if I could go look at it, and it's been a year and a half now, and I'm doing
Yeah.
fine. So,
Did you get a bit nervous though when the year was coming up?
if I'm honest with you, I don't believe it at all.
Yeah.
Which often surprises people because I write it,
Yeah.
and people. One person, one review wrote, "I this is absolute evidence this exists. I'm like, you do know this is fiction, don't you? This is made up.
Yeah.
So what made you think that you saw this lady then? What made you unsure?
Well, it
or
was
sure?
dark and it was misty, and we saw what we both thought was a white.
Did you
figure.
both say it at the same time? Did one of you say it and then it was like...
No, it was near enough the same time. And obviously you're travelling quite a distance you've passed. But it was late, it was out in the middle of nowhere, and she appeared to be wearing like a thin dress. So we thought, let's go see if she needs help. Couldn't find her.
See, one thing that makes me sceptical is the fact that ghosts are all either wearing white or Victorian outfits. Where's like a chavvy girl or something that's died recently? Where are they haunting, you know? So you've talked about kind of your influences of James Herbert, and I've seen a line you've also cited Sean Hudson, Darcy Coates, Ron Ripley as your influences.
Yeah.
How exactly have they influenced you?
Because it's what I like to read, and I think that I read something and then I see something and then I want to write a story. One of my books, Daddy Won't Kill You, my husband bought me a rocking chair home, and it wasn't antique, it was just an old rocking chair. I don't know where he got it from now, but the minute I saw it, it creeped me out, and I could imagine something horrible sitting in it.
I can imagine what he thought of you, that a rocking chair would be a present you'd want.
It was for the garden.
Okay, fair enough. I bought my girlfriend over a rocking chair for her to sit.
Hence we're getting divorced.
Yes.
Oh dear, no. The minute I saw it, it just creeps me out totally, and then my imagination starts to think why, and the stories just come.
Was there a particular story that you've written that's kind of influenced by it?
That was a book called Daddy Won't Kill You.
Oh, sorry, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What was that book about then?
It's really about a family that are on the edge of divorce, and they're going away with the two kids to see if they can resurrect the marriage. And on the way there, he sees a rocking chair.
It's autobiographical.
Buys it for his wife, and it's possessed, so...
Gosh, could you have bought you a rocking chair, not like a piece of cheese or something you had, possessed piece of cheese?
That's the next book.
Brilliant. And of course, I had to believe that writing has always been a passion ever since you were young as well, and that you used to write stories at school. What happened there?
Well, I often used to have to read them out, and for some reason they thought they were good. But
when you say you had to, did you volunteer? Did they make you?
No, they asked me to. I don't think they forced me, but they asked me to. And again, they started to get towards the horror. They weren't horror, but they were spooky stories.
Can you remember one in particular that you wrote and what it was about?
I can't remember them. I know one was in Amazon, and it was a spirit story, but I can't remember it. And I know I haven't got them anymore, which is a shame, really, because it would be nice to look back.
Yeah. I came across some that I wrote as a kid. There was one called Tears.
Yeah.
About a guy whose girlfriend died and came back as a ghost while he was falling in love with someone else.
Yeah.
Just read it. It's just so on the nose kind of dialogue.
Yeah.
And of course, you've based a lot of your books on haunted houses.
Yeah.
How have you done your research for that?
Most of it is online, but I also read books. I visit places when I can.
Where have you visited?
Lincolnshire, mainly around the local area. So
have you specifically sought out haunted houses?
I haven't yet, but I am intending to. It's been one of them things that I've been planning on doing for the last few years, but life's just kind of taken over, if you know.
I've got a YouTube series where I do it. You should come along to one. We should go look at a haunted house.
Yeah, I'd love to.
That'd be good, yeah. And how do you then use that research to influence your books?
What I like to do is weave it into the story, so I won't write about that specific place usually. I'll weave it into somewhere else. My book Brinley was based on a house in Essex, which is supposedly the most haunted house, and
is that the one that made some films?
It's been on a few paranormal programs.
East End Drive. Is that it?
That might be it.
Because I was looking up that you can go visit it and you can
It's
pay
called
to
The
stay there
Cage.
overnight.
Yeah, they call it The Cage, and witches were hung there. So I did quite a bit of research on it and then based the book around one of the witches that was
Which
hung
book
there.
was that?
That was Brindley House, the
Yeah,
Haunting
sorry.
of Brindley House. It's
Said
okay.
that. Keep on asking you, repeat the same thing you already said. And what other haunted houses have you used as an influence?
Oh gosh, let me think. The Haunting of Seafield House was based on quite a few different ones. I can't think of what they were now, but just different bits I've read. Obviously, Call from Beyond. That was based on the White Woman legend. My latest book is based on the legend of the Dybbuk box, which is
Tell us about that. What's the Dybbuk box?
that's a Jewish wine box, which is supposedly to keep a spirit inside. So it's you would trap a spirit, and then the idea is that it would not be able to get out of that box, and it would stay there. And that just really intrigued me. So I did a book on that, and really enjoyed that. Just finished it.
How did you explore that in your book? It's your most recent book.
Explore it as in research, or as in
kind of within the story of your
within
book.
the story. Okay, well it starts with a guy having an exorcism because he's possessed, and I don't want to give too much away, but they believe they've got a spirit out of him, but they haven't. So he creates havoc, gets put in jail, and then that's really where the story begins.
How did you come across the Dybbuk box kind of legend?
Well, it's something I've obviously heard about for a lot of years, but I was researching, I think I was researching the book before, and I just kept seeing this articles on the Dybbuk box, which was nothing to do with what I was researching, so I thought, yeah, that's got to be the next the next book.
Excellent. Is there any other things you kind of come across that you've used in your books?
Oh gosh, there'll be loads, but I can't think of any offhand. I did one on ghost orbs.
Ghost orbs? What are they?
Ghost orbs is where you see light. So the ghosts manifest as orbs of light, which is... a lot of people see them. I've never seen anything, but a lot of people see them.
Manifest as light in some kind of shape?
Yeah, as in an orb.
Okay.
Yeah, as in a circle.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So again, my sceptical mind is just thinking you could explain this. I mean,
yeah. Well, a lot of them now, because there's a lot of photographs of them, a lot of them can be explained as digital cameras and dust motes. But obviously, a proper ghost orb is a lot bigger and a lot more... not solid, but a lot more substantial.
Have you ever been ghost hunting to try and...
No, I haven't. Well, not really officially.
Is it something you want to do, or too scared to do?
I know I want to do. Not far from here. I don't know whether you came past it. It's an old watchtower.
I wasn't paying that much attention.
Well, this village used to be an old World War One RAF camp.
Okay.
And there's an old watchtower on the airfield, and that's supposed to be haunted. I have been in it at night, but not seen anything.
No.
But
Yeah, see, the YouTube series I've done is all the idea of I want to find evidence to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And I've done EVP tests, and I've done kind of filming places, looked at all the different researches, and found absolutely nothing so far. No, and it doesn't make for a particularly exciting YouTube series when you find nothing. You keep saying, "Well, right, aren't I?"
Yeah.
But I'm still. I think the next place I'm going to. Do you know the Greystew Priory in Shepshed?
Yeah.
In Shepshed.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a lady in, I think, grey who stands at the bus stop opposite it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna
see if you can not find her.
Yeah. See if I can. I don't know what I'm expecting to see a grey lady of it, but I'm not expecting to.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that spark your interest other than these kind of things? And because your books come from all these real life ghosts and mysteries that you know about. What about the other books you've read? How are they an influence to your work?
I'm sure they are, because I think everything we do and everyone we meet, everything we see really influences you in some way as a writer. I obviously always try and do something different, but always bearing in mind what the audience want. I know what my readers want. I try and give them what they want while enjoying the story that I want to tell, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you quite close with your readership then, in terms of?
Quite a few. I have some very, very, very loyal readers, which I get on great with, and quite a lot of them email me, and I will email back. Had one lady recently. She had we've had a long email series about spiders. she was having a spider problem, so it's good fun.
Yeah, it's strange how. But then again, I think I put a post about Caroline Kepnes, if you know, she is a big author who wrote You, and she liked it.
Yeah.
And I just went absolutely giddy, kind of excited. But I suppose that must be kind of how.
Yeah.
If you reply to an email, it does mean a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What about those readers that aren't as happy? Your customer reviews. I always like to ask, what's the most bizarre, ridiculous customer review you've had?
I honestly can't think of any really bad ones, or bizarre ones at the moment. You get the obvious, couldn't download it, I didn't buy this. People tell Amazon, not me.
Yeah.
It must have been a ghost.
That's ridiculous. Get a customer review because they can't download it.
Yeah.
So it damages your average review rating after putting all that work because of some technical issue.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then I think Amazon did take it off. I didn't buy it because I didn't force you to buy it. I can't think of any others. Sorry, the brain's gone dead.
My most recent ridiculous one, on a post-apocalyptic horror,
Yeah.
which you led to believe is going to be quite violent, aren't you?
Yeah.
They said they loved the characters, loved the story, loved the writing, but they didn't like that there was cannibalism and torture of a small animal. The small animal, by the way, was one of the monsters I made up for it. They didn't like that I was having cannibals torture a monster that I made up. And then, like, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I had to get other reviews saying it's not violent enough.
Yeah.
Jeez. How do you deal then when you do get a bad review? Does it affect you or does it not?
It
not
does affect you. You can't not affect you. The first thing I do is look at it and basically the first thing I do is probably, oh no. But after that, you look at it and say, well, is there anything in this that I can learn from it?
It's a good way, I think. So the first 5 minutes afterwards, you feel like giving up on everything, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And then I'll look at it and think, well, I might check the review history. If all they read is romance novels, then it's no wonder they don't like it. It's not, and you do get that. You do get people saying, it's not my cup of tea, and you look at what they read and you think, well, why did you go buy it?
Yeah. Good luck. Don't like horror. 1 star.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll try and see if there's anything I can learn. If I agree with any of the comments, then you learn as a writer.
Yeah.
If you don't, just try and forget it, move on. I must admit I don't look at them very often.
Yeah. I try not to, but it's an addiction.
Yeah.
You can't help but look, especially when you're seeing there's a new one.
Yeah, I just don't check. I don't.
When there's a new one and the average rating goes down because of it, that's when I don't look. Are there any ideas for future books then that you've got? Have you got a big tank of that you want to write?
I have got loads, but I'm going to start a new series and I have 2 choices at the moment. I have some characters, Jessie and Gail, who run a paranormal investigation organisation called the Spirit Guide, and they go through a lot of my books, and they're about to get married, so I've got a series already plotted out where I send them down to Pluckley in Kent, which is Britain's most haunted village, and obviously mayhem happens. So that's one idea.
Do you plan to visit there beforehand to try to get a sense for it? Or?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, I could do now, but so the last few years have been quite difficult, so I haven't been able to do a lot of going away. But the other one that I really fancy doing is, so where I live is part of an old RAF base, and I fancy doing a series about haunted RAF base.
Yeah.
So again, I've plotted some of that out, and I've just got to decide. Excuse me. Just got to decide which one I do.
It's a difficult thing. When you've got 2 ideas and you burst in to write the first draft of both of them, but one of them's got to be put aside.
Yeah. Well, I might ask my readers. I have a readers group,
Yeah.
and I might ask them which they'd prefer.
Yeah, it's always readers group always good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got them to vote on a demon that I'm going to use in one of my books before.
Yeah, they quite often choose my titles for me.
Yeah. Have they chosen your cover? I've chosen covers as well with it.
No. My husband used to do my covers, but I get someone else to do them now. But they usually just provide me covers, and I'll idea, and I'll say yes or no, and then we just sort of debate it until we're happy.
So your covers are quite nice. It's nothing like a good book cover, is there?
No.
How involved are you in that process, and what do you?
Okay, so I would send them an idea of what I have in my mind. To be honest, I'm not very good with covers. I don't always know what I want, so I'll send them a rough idea, and he will get back to me with probably 3 or 4 different concepts, and then I will choose one, or I will say no, none of them, and then after that we'll just I'll say I want this bigger, I want that smaller, whatever, and all done. It's usually very, very simple.
Yeah.
And the designer knows me now pretty good. The designer I'm working with now, they know me, and they usually the first designs they come up with is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
The cover for Haunting of the Old Box was nothing like I told him I wanted, but when I saw it I thought, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, in most recent times, 'cause I sent that to my mailing list and got the most clicks I've had on something on my emails for quite a while.
Yeah.
With that, so it must have been an attractive book cover.
Oh, good. That's fabulous.
So, where can people find you then, if they want to find out more about you?
Okay. I have a website which is Caz, C-A-Z Clark. Obviously Caroline Clark on Amazon, or Facebook. Caroline Clark Author on Facebook, all of those. And I usually answer as much as I can. Facebook, I don't answer everything because, to be honest, there are so many comments.
Yeah.
I would spend all day answering comments as much as I'd love to. So I like to keep Facebook off while I'm writing as well, because it's too distracting.
Yes. So what have you got coming out next? What's your next project?
Right, that will be my next series, which I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be yet, but it'll be a series of probably 3 books, either on Buckley and Kent, on the Haunted Village, or on Haunted RAF.
Excellent. Hopefully you'll have decided it by the time
I
it
would
comes
have
out.
decided and written some by then, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Caroline. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.